I've been looking at, those memories on Facebook pop up,
Yes.
and the Halloween costumes, and you think of your kids as so much bigger at the time than they are.
I know.
Isn't that true?
There was one that I posted on Halloween that came up that said it was from 5 years ago when Jem was Spock for Halloween, and he looks like this. And I remember thinking he was so big. Then. And now, I want to take more pictures because now I think he looks like a man.
Right.
But I'm sure that in 5 years
You're
I will
gonna
look back
go,
on the picture and go, he was a little boy.
Right. Yeah, I did that too. I had one from 7 years ago that Wyatt looked like just such a little boy, and one from 5 years ago that he looked like a tiny little boy too. And I'm like,
they grow so fast.
I remember that expression, catch the joy as it flies.
Yeah.
It's so true because today more than ever, we are so wired, like with everything, and we're never in the moment.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to be in the moment.
Yeah.
And we have to appreciate those times.
I had a moment on Halloween when I had worked so hard for 3 days because I wanted everything to be right. You know what I mean? Like we get in that crazy. I always
perfection syndrome.
I always say it's the supermom cape, and it always gets caught in the fan.
Always
gets caught in the fan.
And bite you in the you know what.
Oh yeah, and Jem this year went as a T-Rex, and I ordered the costume 2 months ago online. We got it, tested it out, everything's fine. It had a blower, so it blows up. It's this big costume, and everything. And he had friends over, and I had pizza and drinks for them and all this stuff. We get across the street to go trick-or-treating with his friends, and the fan stops working and the batteries have died on the costume.
Oh no.
And I go and I go unlock the house, and I got trick-or-treaters that now think we're back at the house.
Right.
I mean, it was a cluster, what. And I come back with the batteries, and we got the flashlight on the sidewalk, and we put the batteries in, the fan still doesn't work. And now Halloween has blown up, and I am like gonna run out into traffic. I'm ready to just be like, kill me now. And I had a moment where I took a breath, and I was like, okay, this is not working out the way I planned. Let's accept and move on, and what can we do? And the fan kicked on as soon as I thought that.
Let go.
Now, it didn't work great, but it worked enough that his costume worked, and I was kind of bummed about it, and I kept reminding myself, just shut up, he's having a good time.
Nobody knows it didn't work the way it was supposed to work, right?
And the whole thing culminated into this moment where, and all these people were asking to take pictures. We have thousands of trick-or-treaters.
Did you post any of them on the show?
No.
I'll
send a picture that Samantha can show after a break.
Okay, and I'll send Wyatt arresting me.
Yeah.
Because I used Martha Stewart's inmate outfit from last year that we did for him to be, he was the policeman.
Oh,
and I was
he was arresting you.
I had escaped from jail once again.
Love it.
So he was arresting me.
Love it. But we got to this one place. All these people were asking for pictures with the dinosaur because it was that cool of a costume, and having all their kids take pictures, and it was like he was a rock star and he just loved it. And we were walking into this place, and he said from inside the costume, he said, "Mom, I just want you to know that I love you."
Oh.
And I went, okay, that makes it all worthwhile.
Yep.
And then last night I said to him, you know what my favorite part of Halloween was? And he said, what? And I said that, you were having such a good time, and then you said this. And I said, why did you say that? And he said, because I just saw how hard you worked to make it all come out. And that's the first time ever that he's noticed.
Right.
Like I can work myself to the bone, and he doesn't notice.
Right.
So I thought that, at 13, I thought that was
That's amazing. And my favorite moment of Halloween was when Wyatt did not want to keep any of the candy. He wanted to donate it to other kids.
Love
so
it.
we gave it to other kids as we were leaving the neighborhood where we were trick-or-treating. And he did not, and he would go in and he would say, I can't have that. Do you have anything else? Because if people had Hershey's, or he'd say, I can't have dairy. Do you have anything else?
Did anybody do the teal pumpkin? Because we had the teal pumpkin thing, which signals that you have treats that aren't food.
No, I didn't see any of that where we trick-or-treated. Anyway.
You didn't see it either. Okay. I was amazed at how many kids chose the pencils.
Oh, okay.
That like little kids, they were like, a pencil? I can get a pencil?
Right.
And I said, take two. They're small.
Yeah.
They weren't small.
Okay.
Anyway,
well, let's talk about some other great things.
Yes, and some not so great things, actually. We've got most of our In the News is upbeat, but we have one story.
Yeah. Quiet holiday time at Toys R Us. Not usually associated with a quiet place or a sensory-friendly calm, soothing place, but there are plans to do this over the holiday season.
What I love is that in the UK, Toys R Us has been doing this since 2014. They've been doing this, having one day that was set aside, and this year it's going to be November 6th. They're going to dim the lights, turn off the music, and let kids come in and shop for a specific day, November 6th. And they've been doing this for a while, but what's interesting is that they covered this story in the U.S. press like a week and a half ago, and it got so much attention that they came out with another press release and said that the United States stores are going to figure out something. They're working to figure out what they're going to do, whether it will just be one day or not. But and as soon as they came out and said that, so many people have written in and said this is important, and written about experiences that they've had where their child is tantrumed. There was one woman who wrote in and said that a small store in her community, whose name she didn't want to disclose, told her that it didn't want to have children with autism during normal business hours because, quote, they don't want to run off their customers, unquote. And that the owner then did offer later to open the store earlier to allow the woman to shop after hours, but she really was offended.
Yeah.
Really offended
who
by
wouldn't
that.
be?
And who wouldn't be?
Who wouldn't be? I would be.
So we love that everybody's starting to understand that this is important, that it feels like maybe the awareness thing is getting to some higher people, and they're starting to understand how it affects their bottom line. That, you know, our kids are consumers, and as their parents were consumers, and we, you know, every shopping experience isn't going to be appropriate for everybody. I kind of love it. We're seeing more museums doing this.
Yes, we are.
And more Broadway shows doing this.
Right.
Love it,
Theaters
love it.
doing screenings,
Yes.
all that stuff.
It's all to the good. So check out in your local area what is going to be happening at your local Toys R Us, and you can make suggestions. They said they're open to suggestions.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Next story. I don't know if you had seen this 15-year-old cross-country runner.
I have not seen this video.
Oh, this is heartbreaking, you guys. Okay, so.
Oh, wait a minute. I thought you were talking about the thriller.
Oh, no, that's going to be our last.
Oh, that's our last
We want to
story.
end on a
Okay.
happy note.
A happy note.
But the 15-year-old who was Chase Coleman, who was a cross-country runner, they describe him as being skinny, black, 15-year-old with autism. He got confused in a recent cross-country race, and in the middle of the race, he went off course and was running on a nearby street. And a gentleman who was in his car, and this was happening in the Rochester area of upstate New York. A man was in his car with his wife and became so concerned about this young man who was running clearly in a cross-country, like had a number and everything, but this young kid was running. He stopped his car, got out, and shoved him.
When you said he became concerned, he wasn't concerned about Chase's safety. He was
No.
concerned that he was going to steal his wife's purse.
Yes. Which
Who was in the car with him.
Yes, they were in a car, and this skinny 15-year-old in a runner's outfit with a number was running, and he thought that he was running to come and steal his wife's purse. This is all very
There's a
weird
little,
to me.
not just racial profiling, but all kinds of things going on there. Little
all
assumptions.
kinds of things.
Yeah.
Okay, so he got out of his car and shoved Chase, which really traumatized Chase. Since that time, Chase's family tried to press assault charges on this gentleman whose name, he's 57-year-old named Martin McDonald, and he admits that he shoved Chase.
Admits it. Yeah.
Says that he thought
he was going to steal the purse.
Okay, so Coleman's family tried to press charges. The judge denied an arrest warrant that would have charged McDonald for second-degree harassment. And we got this from a site called deadspin.com, which I love what they've written here. They said, it's worth noting that the police report in which McDonald admitted to getting out of his car and shoving an unarmed kid half his size in a cross-country uniform and shouting, "Get out of here" at him, labeled the interaction as an argument. a child with limited verbal.
Isn't an argument something that takes place between two people?
Wouldn't you think? And they said, which is an odd designation because Coleman rarely talks at all.
Yeah, that's hard to have an argument with a nonverbal child with autism.
But
running.
Yes, but here's what's worse than that, is that since that time, it's more than a week after the assault, Chase has refused to go to practices and has skipped running in his last meet of the season.
No, floodgates open.
Crestfallen, Mrs. Coleman watched as her son turned his running uniform into his coach, who gently encouraged him to change his mind, and Chase refused. Now, because of all the media attention, and this is one of the reasons why we're talking about it today, because of all the media attention paid to the case, yesterday the Rochester police decided to renew the investigation. So if you got a little time today, click on a link to go with it so that they see that we're watching and paying attention, and that
I just wonder if there's anything we can do to help Chase.
Well, you know what?
Involved in running again. I'm just hoping.
You know what this reminded me of, Nancy? Last week when we had the gentleman, Adam Irving from Off the Rails off, and we were talking about what happened in the school that sent this young man into a place where he doesn't feel safe anymore.
Where he was
now
bullied
he's been in and out of
stabbed.
jail. And what I want to do, I know people in Rochester. We there's a card office in Rochester. What I want to do is say to the mom, if he's willing to run, we'll get a group of people to run around him.
Right.
We can put a group of people to run around him as a safety until he feels safe again.
I would like to see if we could do some sort of emergency grant for this child to get him behavior therapy in Rochester, if there is still an issue with him refusing to run, that we could have a therapist work with him.
Let's reach out to his mom today. Okay. So, but moving on to, I thought this filled my heart so much.
I haven't seen the dance.
Oh my gosh. And we're going to show you a couple of seconds of it in just a second. But if you have not, you've got to Google Aspects Holidays or look it up on Facebook, because, and Samantha's going to show but I want you to go and watch the whole video. But we want to show you just a soupçon of this, because they had a contest. This place in British seaside town, St. Ives, asked participants to dance in front of a webcam. The best dancer was promised a prize. And this little boy who's 8, who when he was 5, he was diagnosed and he struggled to communicate, struggled academically in school, but last year his dad turned him onto YouTube and to Michael Jackson videos, and this kid nailed Thriller. We want you to see just a second of it so that you're convinced that you've got to go see it. So take a look. Samantha, go ahead and play it. And you see his mom walking him up, and and he's just this Joe average kid, right? But the music starts.
Okay, let's watch it. Here's William. Okay, there you go. There's the moves.
I just love him. And he is business, man. And if you think about how hard that is, he's not watching a video. He's doing that all on his own from memory.
Look at the arms going.
And he's right on the beat. Look
yes.
Okay, you guys have got to, we don't want to copyright infringe. You've got to go
adorable.
Watch, and send some love to this fabulous place, Aspects Holidays. If you're going to rent a cottage, rent from them. Because
they must be out of England.
Yes.
Okay.
British seaside town of St. Ives.
That looked like a lovely town.
Doesn't it look absolutely beautiful? And go there to rent your cottage.
And this just 18 months ago, when his dad introduced him to YouTube, he started watching the Michael Jackson. You never know what our kids are going to get out of their obsessions.
You never know. So that's little 8-year-old William Ryan.
Good story.
And he won, of course.
Yeah.
They had lots of cool entries, but he won, and he got this great gift basket. If you go on their site, you'll see the gift basket that he won. Fills your heart. And just know, if you make comments on their Facebook page, that the mom is checking in every day and reading the comments to him, and he's loving comments. So you can send them a message and say how inspirational he is, that he's loving that people are watching it. I love those kinds of stories.
Great story.
All right. All right, we have a great guest. Dr. Michael Nelson is going to be with us. We've talked on the show before about the benefits of the not Brussels sprouts, broccoli sprouts.
Yes.
And what's in the broccoli sprouts,
Yes.
and why is that good for our kids? So we're going to.
Wyatt just started taking this supplement, not this specific one, but a Brocomax.
But there's a reason why this supplement. We met these folks when we were at the ASA conference, and there's a reason why. You got to know about this
Okay,
one.
well, I want to know about this one.
Okay.
Because even Wyatt's very conservative psychiatrist recommended this supplement.
Okay. All right. So Dr. Michael Nelson coming up after this break. Stick with us.
Hi, and welcome everybody to our 5K, 10K run and family festival.
So the Act Today for Military Families Run and Festival is a race that benefits military children with autism. So we help a lot of the families around the country whose parents serve in the military.
I'm an autism mom, but also a military wife, and I'm so excited to be here at Act Today's 6th annual run. I've never missed one. It's something that really helps this situation. Is fabulous because there's no other organization like it.
San Diego has some of the highest concentration of military in the country, if not the world. And a lot of my friends are military and are affected by autism disorder. And so for me to do some little thing to the people that protect our freedoms is important.
It's hard enough to parent a kiddo with autism. Can you imagine parenting a child when you move on average every 2 years, you have a parent member deployed or in training? Our kids don't like change. These kids are subject to constant change.
My name's Tom Leahy. I am president of One Hope Wine. We are the title sponsor of the 6th annual Act Today Family Festival. We have been the title sponsor every single year, which we're very proud of. We've worked with Act Today for 9 years, which we are also very proud of.
My name is Megan Martin. I'm a licensed and certified genetic counselor at Lineagen, and we provide genetic testing. Lineagen are strong supporters of all families with autism, but particularly families in the military.
Double stroller, so he should get double the amount of applause.
Hey, my name is Yard Connor. I am in the United States Navy, stationed here at Navy Information Operations Command, San Diego. I am a first-class petty officer, and been here for 3 years so far. This event is important to me. Growing up in a family, my baby sister has Down syndrome, and just living through that and being 17 years older than she is, understand the importance of family. I understand the importance of how everybody is important to what we do here, not only in our country, but what we do throughout the world.
For the 10K, here at the top, female. Here we go. First place with a time of 42. Arciga, bueno. Good job. And third place, Alex Rodriguez.
Go to acttodayformilitaryfamilies.org and help our military families impacted by autism.
5K, red bibs are the 10K. Here comes some more finishers.
We're very excited because we're in the Noah's Ark exhibit and we're here with Jason Porter. Thank you for taking us on this tour.
Oh, thanks for having us.
So you're going to show me around a little bit and show me some of the secrets of the Noah's Ark exhibit, right?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Cool, let's go.
Yeah.
So Jason, tell us, this is an amazing space. Why is it so incredible for children?
One of the values of the Skirball Cultural Center is taking care of the earth and one another, and so this idea of repurposing materials that would otherwise be tossed off was a big component to how we design the galleries. It's based on, certainly the story that everyone knows is the one from the Hebrew Bible, the story of Noah. But in our research, we looked at over 200 flood stories from around the world, and many different cultures have flood stories that have similarities, and the similarities that we identified were these 3 chapters. The storm, some crazy challenge that comes to your life. An ark, a kind of means of survival, a way for a community to come together to survive. And finally, the rainbow, which is this kind of symbol of hope, the second chance to make the world anew.
Love it. All right, let's take a look through, and we're going to talk about some of the learning opportunities that are available here.
We really wanted people to kind of discover what they were supposed to do. For example, this elephant has a gong in the center, and there's a little wheel here that you can turn and see what happens. But there's also some hidden things, like there's a little peephole in this polar bear, so it's kind of a moment where you could talk with your kids about what does it mean that polar bear in there only has a small piece of ice to live on it, and you could talk about kind of the environmental issues that might be associated with it.
All right, should we go downstairs?
Yeah, let's check out the storm.
So Jason, what do you call this room?
This is called the Storm Gallery. In one side of the gallery, we have a storm wall, which is all sorts of sounds and sight effects to make the storm come to life. We have this, what we call the load up. It's fairly intuitive. You put animals onto the conveyor belt and you turn the wheel and they get loaded up onto the ark. Except you can't do both at the same time by yourself. It's kind of layered in the doing, the learning that we're really interested in, which is about this notion of working together in order to accomplish something. So, when you first get on the ark, obviously you enter 2 by 2 as the story goes. And so the animals in this first section of the ark, they're not quite sure where they should be. They're a little bit nervous about who to hang out with. The gallery is really organized so that the animals are still in pairs. So we talk a lot about what are the elements of home that you need to survive. And it's really a nice kind of intro into the whole experience of being in a community, learning to be together with people who may or may not be the same as us. This gallery of Noah's Ark is unique, I think, in terms of the way that it was designed, that it offers a huge variety of experiences in a way that really accommodates people of all stripes and spots. So there are more quiet zones, like we just left in the move-in day, where you can come into this room where you have a lot of large motor things that are happening, including climbing, and we kind of have nicknamed this the arcade. It's kind of the chapter in the story where they're making new families and they're mixing with other animals that they've befriended. Oh, we have to talk about poop.
We can't do a show without talking about poop.
So, the other fact of life on an ark is that everybody poops. So the challenge is to, clean up.
Okay, so we're in the last room, very cool room. What do we call this room?
We call this the Rainbow Gallery. People really get that this is a place of hope. Sometimes there's an art making project, that it ends in some sort of inspiration, that people feel like they're inspired to take action in the world and make it a better place.
Thank you so much for showing us everything and telling us about all the wonderful things at the Skirball Center. Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. We're very excited.
Nancy-Alspaugh-Jackson. I'm not Ellen today, as I was last week.
Yeah, and I'm not
you were an awesome Rosie O'Donnell, especially the accent was just amazing.
But your hair was so much better than mine. But we digress. We have with us, joining us via Skype, Dr. Michael Nelson, and he is the clinical director for MindMend. That's in Northern Nevada. But he's here today with us because he is the medical advisor for Vitalica Plus. And we're going to be talking about, we've talked on this show before and talked about some of the research having to do with broccoli and broccoli seeds, and how this is something something that has been shown to be effective in creating some good results with kiddos on the spectrum, especially in the, as I understand it, in the realm of speech. We're going to talk to Dr. Nelson about that, and why this particular Vitalica Plus, the broccoli seed extract that they're putting out, why we should all be aware of that, because a lot of people are starting to peddle things having to do with the broccoli, and you want to do what's going to be effective and be safe, and there's a good reason why we want to be talking about Vitalica Plus having to do with those things. So, Dr. Nelson, Dr. Michael Nelson, welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy.
Thank you.
We're thrilled to have you here with us.
Tell us a little bit about your background, Dr. Nelson. Very impressive background, I might add. Tell us about yourself.
Sure. I began my journey in health really as a child, when I would look for ways to actually improve my health. I was an athlete all my life, and so there was always a degree of performance enhancement that I was trying to achieve. And obviously, you turn to your diet and your lifestyle to try and do those things. And so that got me interested in biology and chemistry and biochemistry. And I went on to get an undergrad degree in respiratory therapy, where I worked in both medical centers here in Reno, Nevada. And I worked in the neonatal intensive care. And I started that when I was much younger. I was 23 years old when I began working in the neonatal unit. I was the youngest member in that unit at the time, and really gained the appreciation of the resiliency of the human organism while I was working with those premature babies, seeing them literally under a pound that would fit in the palm of my hand. So I went on from there to get my doctorate at the University of Western States in Portland, Oregon. And really enjoyed that. My doctorate is in chiropractic, and I practice functional medicine. So I've been actually practicing functional medicine for going on 25 years now. And I learned from the founder of functional medicine about 27 years ago, Dr. Jeffrey Bland, which many people are familiar with his work. And I set up my practice in 1993 as a private practitioner practicing functional medicine. Nobody knew what it was. People could understand the concepts, but they really didn't know the actual name functional medicine. And even today, I think there's still some questions on what is functional medicine. And in a nutshell, functional medicine is trying to connect the dots of the systems that are involved in the conditions that people come to see you with, and not separate you out into the individual silos, and look at a systems-based approach to one's health to uncover the root cause of their condition, so that we can make efficient recommendations and interventions that will help to essentially reconnect the various systems so that you can feel better and act better and reduce risk.
As in, let's not just slap a pill on it and ignore what was happening to begin with. So we love that. But let's segue into why Vitalica Plus it got interested in broccoli seed extracts, and why this is a really growing interest for so many people in the autism community. Talk to us about the broccoli seed extract.
Sure. So many years ago, I started to become interested in, obviously, detoxification. And as you kind of move into that realm of understanding, you start to look at different dietary considerations that one might want to utilize to help improve detoxification, and broccoli stands at the forefront of that. So I became very interested in understanding more about different supplementation regimes that you could use to enhance detoxification for people that had sluggish detox, like an autistic spectrum disorder child. And broccoli extracts started to come into the picture. This is many years ago. This is probably 8-9 years ago now. And I became aware of a company that was actually growing their own broccoli seed and working with Johns Hopkins, who were really the forefathers of this whole emerging concept of using broccoli as a chemoprotectant for carcinogenesis for cancer that we're primarily looking at.
Dr. Nelson, I just want to and keep that train of thought, but I want to just interrupt you for a minute to just point out that this is solid medical science and testing that we're talking here, because you're talking Johns Hopkins, and this is very solid research backing this up, broccoli as a detoxifier of the system, correct?
Correct. So what Hopkins did is they started to understand that broccoli, the people that ate the most amount of broccoli, 5 to 7 servings per week, had a lower incidence of different types of cancers, and so they were trying to figure out which actual active ingredient within the broccoli was responsible for this, and so they pulled broccoli off the store shelf and they analyzed it, and what they found is not all broccoli was created equal, and some had an active component and others didn't, and so they started to try and figure out how could they design a study when they didn't know what they were actually giving the patients. So they came to the company that I'm an advisor for, Caudell Seed, and asked them to start to look for cultivars or plant species that had the highest concentration of the active ingredient associated with this chemoprotective effect. And so they hired us, and we started working on developing richer and more robust cultivars of broccoli, so that we could actually have them used in studies. And over the course of the last 17 years, we've developed multiple strains of broccoli that we grow specifically for the seed, because the seed has the highest concentration of this active ingredient known as glucoraphanin.
But I want to stop you there, because you talked about cultivating the broccoli and making it the most potent. But we need to make sure that everybody knows that this is non-GMO. This has not been genetically modified, correct?
That's correct. So we use hybridized techniques, which is essentially taking a plant and stressing it so that you can actually cause it to produce more of a specific attribute. And it's done all the time. It's done in nature. Nature does this randomly, depending upon where the plant's growing up. If it's closer to the equator, it's going to have maybe more protective components in the plant than if it was grown in North Dakota. And so there's different ways in which you can stress a plant. And we did that so that we could actually express more of this very potent ingredient called glucoraphanin. And we've gone through multiple iterations. There's absolutely zero GMO here. And we use organic farming techniques to cultivate all of our plants. We own the land, and we own the plants, and we own the seeds.
Impressive, really impressive. So that's just one of the reasons, the many reasons why because we were talking before about that there are many products available on the market, but you guys, those are two of the reasons. It's non-GMO and they're organically grown plants. What are some other differences that make Vitalica Plus a much different product for if you're gonna go down this direction? I really want to encourage people to buy your product, but tell them why.
Yeah, so I think what's important to understand is not all broccoli extracts are created equal by any means. Many just really don't have not been standardized to the active component, which is glucoraphanin. And so we go to great lengths to standardize our product, our raw material, so that we can get reproducible results. And that's why clinicians literally all over the world specify our product, and we sell raw material to a lot of professional companies that will use our product, and then we have our own product, Vitalica Plus. And the difference between our product and maybe a competing product is the fact that, number one, we grow our own seeds, we own all of our own patents on our seeds, and so we can handle the material from what we say from plant to capsule. So we know everything in between. And then we take that plant and we harvest it just for the seed, not for the broccoli. And then we take that seed and we express all the oil, and the oil has some unique benefits as well. And we won't get into that. And then we take all that, what we call seed mash, and extract out the active ingredient using no solvents. We use CO2. That's a very costly process, but it's the best process for preserving the active components.
And the word sulforaphane, is that the actual extract? What does that word mean? What's the definition?
So here's the other unique difference between us and maybe another competing product is sulforaphane is the byproduct of the metabolism of glucoraphanin. So let me explain. glucoraphanin is basically sitting in the seed or in the capsule, and it needs to get activated by an enzyme, and that enzyme is called myrosinase. And we've all tasted myrosinase activation when we bite into a radish and it's cool, and then it turns kind of hot or spicy. And that's the cell wall breaking down and exposing the glucoraphanin to myrosinase. And you taste it and you feel it. We call that the mustard oil bomb. When that glucoraphanin gets activated by myrosinase, it produces sulforaphane. And so what we've done is we've actually captured the myrosinase and we recombine it with our glucoraphanin in a very specific proprietary way, and we then put it in a capsule, and then we deliver it to the individual or the patient. And that's really what makes us quite different than anything on the market. Nobody else has gone through the rigors like we have to actually accomplish this. It's a very tedious process. It took us lots and lots of time and effort to establish this process. And again, that's why clinicians all over the world are really using ours as the standard, especially when it comes to research projects.
And why use this product with those with autism spectrum disorder?
Well, some of your listeners may already be aware of the Zimmerman study that came out in 2013 that showed that ASD kids that took they actually used our seed to grow their sprouts, and sprouts have a little bit of myrosinase in it. When they used our seeds and they gave it to the actual children, they saw a tremendous improvement in their behavior, and they saw it very quickly. And especially when they compared them to the individuals that did not get the actual glucoraphanin and sulforaphane ultimately. And so that really got the eye of a lot of people, and parents and clinicians, as to a beneficial product that they could use in the ASD community. And it made perfect sense to me, and I think many other clinicians, that this would work, because as anybody knows, ASD is a pleomorphic condition, and there's a multitude of things that are taking place, from inflammation in the brain to gut dysbiosis to elevated lipopolysaccharides that are leaking into the bloodstream from leaky gut, to poor detoxification, to all these neuronal distortions that take place. And it turns out that sulforaphane addresses a multitude of these conditions, from the detoxification to the low glutathione to the improvement in the blood-brain barrier, the gut barrier. So it made complete sense that this would work. And then more recently, the study came out, as you guys may have saw, that there's mutations in the mitochondrial DNA of these ASD children that are now characterizing these. And this has been emerging along the way. And that sulforaphane actually participates in improving the mitochondrial bioenergetics, which I think is really important for any of the children that are suffering from the ASD condition, because the mitochondria are really the target of so much of the therapies out there today with regard to ASD.
Well, okay, now we've got probably parents around the world listening to this interview going, how do I get this?
Yeah, how can they order it? Let's start there.
Well, we have a website, it's vitalicaplus.com. I gave you guys some information to Samantha, I believe.
Yes.
So she could probably pass that out. We did get a kind of a nice offer from our company to support this effort, so she can pass that along to your listenership.
Well, and I just want to say, it's really, I'm going to bring it up right here. It's really generous that, for the first 100 viewers who take advantage of this, you've set up a code, and again, it's just for the first 100, where you can get 75% off. But there is a code, and Samantha's going to put it up on the screen, that you need to enter in when you're ordering it. So it's VP33, those of you who listen instead of watch.
And we have the URL.
And so it's www.vitalicaplus.com, and this is the code that you would put in to get 75% off. That's only for the first 100 bottles, but that's incredibly generous. And I just want to say, when we talk about a product here, autism-live isn't getting paid at all.
No.
There's no kickback here.
And we're very cautious as to what product we might recommend, which is why we talked to Dr. Nelson extensively about the research behind this product. This is solid medical research.
But I do want to say,
testing.
people need to make decisions for themselves.
Absolutely.
But if you are going to do a broccoli, this is the one to do for the reasons that we just talked about. And you can get it 75% off right now with this code if you're one of the first 100. But Dr. Nelson, let's talk a little bit about, of course, everybody's always concerned about safety. Is there any kind of concern that parents should have, like about, does it clearly say on the bottle how much you should give, and does it matter what the weight of the child is? What do we need to know?
Yeah, so the one great thing about Vitalica Plus is that it's in a very small capsule, so the ingestibility is very easy. If it's a child that doesn't really have the capability to swallow, then you can sprinkle it on some applesauce and mix it in. It won't distort the flavor, and you can stir it in there and maybe give it in the applesauce. The age range varies, so and weight varies as well. What we typically recommend is if you're dealing with a younger ASD child that's, let's say they're above 3 and below maybe 8, then 1 to 2 capsules per day would be sufficient. And if you're dealing with a older ASD kid or even an adult, we recommend 3 capsules. The side effect profile is literally not there. What we have heard and what some people have reported is there might be an initial gastrointestinal upset, and that's the extent of the side effects that we've heard or seen. And that makes sense, though, and I'll explain that, because not only is Vitalica Plus help to promote all these antioxidant protection mechanisms, but it's also has a way to normalize the microflora in the gut. So it's got some antimicrobial benefits as well. So we know for sure in clinical studies, again, that when you give it to people with H. pylori, it will eradicate the H. pylori. So there's an antimicrobial benefit. And going back to the plant kingdom, that's exactly why the plant has it, is it acts as an antimicrobial so that plants will not eat it. That's why the highest concentration exists in the seed. And then it slowly gets less and less as the plant gets more mature. So that's why we use the seed. So those would be the kind of the guidelines I'd give if you're using it with a child. And there's just so many other benefits to using a product like this for even adults too. I just got done speaking in September at the Cancer Control Society meeting, the 44th annual Cancer Control, and I was one of the keynote speakers there, and I talked all about the benefits of this type of product for cancer prevention as well.
Is this a product you take yourself, Dr. Nelson?
Every day, yeah. Every single day.
Well, and we know we've got a lot of moms who are watching who have autoimmune issues, and I'm one of those moms, and we have problems detoxifying too.
We're under severe stress as mothers of children with autism.
So this could be something that's very beneficial for us, because we've done segments before on the show about how autism parents are more likely to be diagnosed with some certain forms of cancer. So this is a great thing for us, to be taking along with our children to help protect us in that respect as well. Yes.
One quick add, I know we'll probably have at the end of this, but a lot of people talk about goitrogens in these cruciferous vegetables, because obviously broccoli is part of the cruciferous family. Our product contains 0 goitrogens, so there's no risk for developing any interference with your thyroid function when you're using our product. There's 0. We check this for it, so we can assure you that you are not getting any goitrogenic effect as well.
Wonderful.
Okay, very good.
Very impressive.
Well, thank you for your breakdown of how this works, what it is, Vitalica Plus, why it's good for us, and very impressive, Dr. Nelson. And my son's doctor, who does not prescribe any supplements, doesn't believe in any of them, said, look into this one, because, and he's about as conservative as they come. He said, this has solid science behind it.
There you go. And so go to vitalicaplus.com, and for the first 100 bottles, the code is VP33, and then you can get that at 75% off. That's amazing. We thank you so much for making that possible for our viewers. We thank you, Dr. Michael Nelson, and we'll hope to have you back on the show again sometime.
Love to. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us
so much. Bye-bye.
Okay.
We're going to take a short break and come back with a couple of pictures from
Halloween.
Halloween to show you guys exactly what it is we're talking about. But don't forget, vitalicaplus.com. The code is VP33. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod from Autism Live.
And I'm Nancy-Alspaugh-Jackson from Act Today.
And together we co-host Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy.
And I'd like to thank Emily Goodwin for challenging us to the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge.
Yes, we're thrilled to be able to show how the autism community supports the ALS community.
So we're going to ask some autism activists to take the challenge on as well. Dr. Doreen Grandpichet, the founder of CARD and Act Today.
Matt Asner from Autism Speaks.
Lisa Ackerman from TACA.
Holly Robinson-Peete from the Holly Rod Foundation.
Ariva Martin from the Special Needs Network.
Scott Badish from the Autism Society of America.
Alex Plank from Ron Planet and activist Jesse Saperstein.
And finally, Dr. Temple Grandin. You've been challenged!
Thank God we live in Southern California.
Woo!
That's an oldie but goodie.
Yeah, it was so. We were so hot. We were standing in the sun baking. I had no makeup on. I always tell people how red my face is with no makeup. And then they poured that. It was like hot on cold. I'm surprised we didn't steam.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway,
okay, so we have some pictures from Halloween.
Yes. So I don't know who we're going to see first.
Look at first.
So Samantha's
but
there's not a picture of me because it's from my husband took the pictures of me and I took pictures of my husband with my son.
Okay.
That's us.
How great.
So there's Jem and his T-Rex, and my husband was the man in black.
I love that border, Samantha.
Isn't that great? The man in black from Westworld.
You guys definitely kicked it. You won it over us. I had my Martha Stewart prison garb. Last year I was Martha Stewart when you were Julia Child on this show.
Yeah.
And I wore prison garb with Chanel accessories and, lots of cooking utensils. But Wyatt wanted to be a policeman, so I took out the prison garb and threw it on quickly. And there you see Wyatt arresting me saying, I guess I broke out of jail again. He said, if you break out of jail one more time, lady, you're being locked up for good.
Too funny. Absolutely love it. Halloween is great. It's,
it's a little stressful.
It is a little stressful and it can be overwhelming.
But we have to remember the magic of it. Hold on to the magic.
Yes, hold on to the magic.
Because that's what it's really all about, isn't it?
And really this signals, I always say, that week before Halloween, we're officially on the treadmill
for the holidays.
And it's important to edit and think about what's important to you. We're in massive stress right now getting ready for the Sensitive Santa event that we're doing here in Los Angeles on November 26th here locally. And then the month of December, we'll be doing our Festival of Toys here. And the toys that we have been lining up, you guys, oh my God, I get so excited. I love toys. I think I missed an opportunity to be in the toy industry.
I love toys too, and Wyatt never had much of an interest in toys other than Thomas the Tank Engine.
But that's a toy. I mean,
it was a toy, and we got every Thomas. I mean, Thomas was our life.
And there's new Thomas things that are Thomas minis, and I know you're trying to
wean him off Thomas now that he's going to be 15 next week.
But there is some cool stuff that I'm very excited, and I'm one of them. I don't want to give it away. That I have a conversation with them at 1:00 today. That's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. seen. So very
Good tease, Shannon.
I know.
Can't
it's
wait
like,
for all this.
We've been so excited, and for all age ranges. I know that last year, you guys have gotten upset with me in the past because we tend to focus on the toys for the really little ones
Yeah.
for the therapy. But remember, I've got a 13-year-old. I'm incredibly interested in the kids for the teens, and I really heard what you said last year and paid much more attention to that. We have some really cool stuff for the teenagers this year, stuff that the parents are going to want to play with too. It's that cool. But really, I think address both our kids' strengths and help build up their weaknesses and get them jazzed so it's educational. And so I'm holding on for the holidays to the things that I really love. And I love getting into the Festival of Toys and looking at the toys and doing this sensitive Santa. So that's something that I'm really excited about. What's something that you're going to be excited about for the holidays?
I am going to be excited about kind of keep scaling it down and simplifying things.
Yeah.
Spending more time about the things that really matter, not the things that, to me, it's not about the food, it's not about the gifts.
Right.
It's about the message. Thanksgiving being a message of being grateful and giving thanks.
Yes.
And then Christmas, particularly for my family, is about the birth of Christ.
Yes.
That's what Christmas is.
Yes.
And no matter what faith you are, it's about the message of what he brought to us in this world, to love one another.
And I want to say, as a friend of your family, that this Christmas may not be the easiest Christmas for you because it's your first Christmas without Reed, and the memories from last Christmas and last holidays, you didn't really get to experience all the joy of all those things because you were in the middle of it.
Both of those holidays were spent in the hospital.
Right. Thanksgiving Day, in fact, Jem and I came up to the hospital and we were there with you guys at the hospital for a little while up at Cedars-Sinai. But what's funny about that is that time and perspective, and I remember that day being so particularly hard. But for me, and it's going to be different for you, but what I remember about that was how amazing it was to have the opportunity to be with you and Wyatt and with Reed on that day.
And that's what that day is about.
It is.
And we were thankful to have you.
Well, and but the other holidays were hard too, and I know that this holiday will have its poignancy because of that, but I love that you're focusing on, because it's so important that we focus on what is, and not live in the past, and it's hard not to. And to not live in the future either, and that's hard too.
And to focus on what we have and what we can be grateful for.
Yes.
Because I think so much of our culture is about what we don't have.
Yes.
And we see so many people who have more.
Yes.
And particularly in today's world, let's focus on what we have, and we have each other.
And I will say too, we had planned to do a whole big election thing because this is the last show of ours before the election. And we kind of backed off of that because I think you guys are inundated. But I will say this, that I hope that everybody votes, and that no matter what you do, I hope that you vote. I will say that there is only one candidate that has a plan for autism. And it may not be as all-encompassing as you want it to be, but it's pretty all-encompassing. It's the only plan that has been as all-encompassing as it is, and that there's a lot of misinformation out there this week that people have, some of you viewers have emailed me about the Clinton autism plan. And before you vote, all I suggest is go to the actual plan, not from what somebody says it is, not from what I say that it is. Go to the actual plan and read that, and then whatever you decide to do, but please vote.
Read it.
Please vote.
See what that plan.
But be informed about what no matter what you vote for.
She is the only candidate that has an autism plan.
And if you don't like the plan and want to vote otherwise, I fully endorse it. Yes, but please vote, and please be an informed voter.
It's a privilege.
Yes, it absolutely is. Thank you so much.